Greetings from Brno, everyone. So I hope everyone is enjoying their Sunday, relaxing with a great bottle of wine. I know I've got two right next to me, so I know this Sunday is in for a good one. I wanted to take this video and kind of circle back on a grape varietal that I've discussed in my actual first video, this grape Welschriesling. So this grape has really intrigued me since I've moved here almost a year ago. I can't believe it. But this Welschriesling, or as it's known here in South Moravia, Ryzlink Vlašský, also known as Vlašák, kind of its colloquial nickname here. This is a grape that is considered the national grape of the Czech Republic. This grape is known as Riesling Italico in Italy and Welschriesling in Hungary. But here in South Moravia, particularly in the region of Mikulov, this grape is quite popular in plantings because it lends itself well to suke, dry style wines, or sladké, dessert style wines. This wine is very expressive because it does pick up elements of terroir, or the kind of all-encompassing word that means soil, climate, weather conditions, vineyard management. Terroir can be a very complicated word, but it does describe where the wine comes from, its original area. And so Welschriesling, or Ryzlink Vlašský, like I said, it is considered the national grape of the Czech Republic. And so I wanted to explore it a little bit more, featuring two wineries that I have quickly become obsessed with since moving here. These wines and wineries produce delicious examples of Welschriesling. And so I wanted to showcase them here, to share them with my friends and wine friends in Brno, and of course in the United States and all around the world. So starting off today's Welschriesling episode, version 2, I will start off with Tanzberg Mikulov. This is their Ryzlink Vlašský. This is a wine that has some bottle age. This is a 2012. This is from the Gold Hammer plot within Mikulov. So this particular region does see a higher limestone content in the soil as because of the Palava Hills that is a limestone outcropping here in South Moravia. This particular plot is quite hilly and does sit on that limestone soil. So you can imagine how excited I was when I saw that this was a 2012 Welschriesling. I have not had a chance to taste a 2012 Welschriesling before, so excited to open up a bottle and share it with you all. So I had the great opportunity to visit Tanzberg Winery with my dear friend Mike. We visited a few months ago. Time is flying. I feel like it was yesterday, where we met with the sommelier, Mikulov, and she was excellent and described in detail all of their wines. And I was very excited and surprised at the quality and refinement of these wines. So going into their Welschriesling, this wine, you can see the color of this wine does have a slightly darker golden hue than some of the other wines I've shown before. I will hold the two wines up. This is the Tanzberg 2012. This will be the following wine from Kamil Prokeš. But you can see there's a slightly darker golden hue on this wine. Part of that is because of the bottle age. This wine is a 2012. So, of course, as wines get older, they develop a darker color. It's totally normal with wine. So I was extremely excited to pour this wine into the glass and see this dark golden yellow color. It was really beautiful. So what I love about this winery, in particular this Tanzberg Mikulov, they really zero in on this element of terroir. And because this gold hammer plot does have a higher limestone content, it is quite evident actually in this nose. If you've ever walked by a riverbed after the rain and you smell this wet rock sensation, this is what I mean by minerality. And there's loads of minerality in this wine. It just really smells like that limestone outcropping. There's a touch of citrus and a touch of yellow fruit, almost like an underripe nectarine on here. But to be quite honest, the minerality is fairly pronounced on this wine, and that's probably 90% of what I'm smelling. Let's give it a taste. This wine is dry. There's very small amounts of residual sugar on this wine. The acidity is still quite bright, considering it's a 2012. This is a 7-year-old bottle of wine. I am actually quite shocked at the acidity level. I was expecting it to be a bit lower. As wine tends to get older, sometimes the acidity kind of falls out, as we would say, or declines a bit. But the acidity on this is bright. If I was blinded, I would think that this wine is a 16, but it is actually a 2012 Welschriesling. Delicious minerality on this wine. I just want a piece of trout with it. Some kind of river trout I think would be perfect with some capers. I think it's an excellent example of good quality wine that has the capability of being age-worthy, of aging and maturing properly in the bottle. You might notice actually the bottle does have quite an odd shape, quite a long neck here, and the insignia of Tanzberg here. So this is their signature bottle. So pretty cool wine here from South Moravia, just a half hour from where I live. Going into the next example of Welschriesling, I am super thrilled to be showcasing Kamil Prokeš. So going into it, this is Kamil Prokeš's Ryzlink Vlašský. This is the 2017. This wine is slightly different. This wine is a polosuke, meaning half dry. This wine has about 12 grams of residual sugar. This wine was picked from a selection of grapes, or as it's known here, Výběr z hroznů, so selection of grapes, hroznů meaning grapes. So this wine, these grapes were left on the vine for a longer time. They actually developed a slight bit of botrytis. So botrytis is a noble rot. It does affect certain grapes under certain weather conditions. If you've ever had a Sauterne from Bordeaux, that is the classic example of a botrytis style wine. Typically, botrytis does infect grapes, and it can lead to a wine that can be produced with a slightly honeyed character or kind of a dried apricot sensation on the nose. When I say a rot, it really does look like the grapes are rotten. Go ahead and Google that, botrytis. I will write it down here. It is an interesting effect of nature playing its part with wine, but done in the right way under certain controls. The wines can be lusciously sweet, again, have that apricot character, but still retain acidity, which is quite difficult to pull off. So, talking a little bit about Kamil Prokeš. So, I am a huge fan of his wines. I recently had the chance to go visit his winery, again with my dear friend Mike. We went down and tasted the line of his wines, and I was really blown away by the quality of his wine. So in addition to just being a winemaker, of course, just being a winemaker, quite difficult task, he makes about 20,000 bottles a year. He is a PhD professor at the University of Viticulture in Lednica. He is a 3-time champion of sabrage. So sabrage, pretty cool. If you have a champagne bottle and you saber it with a sword, that is called sabrage. It's a French term. And so Kamil is the 3-time Czech national champion of sabrage. He has kids, he's got a wife, he's got the winery, he's got all of his jobs. He also started the Mladí vinaři, so the Young Winemakers Association. His whole family's involved with wine. His cousin Jan Stavek, also an exceptional winemaker in Nemčičky. His brother makes wine, his grandfather made wine, so he has been around wine all of his life. And that being said, he makes some delicious wine. Going into his Welschriesling, I'll hold the glass up for you. So this has a slightly lighter yellow color than the previous, than the Tanzberg. And the nose is very typical of that dried apricot character. Definitely a bit more fruity than the mineral-driven Tanzberg. But, of course, with being 12 grams residual sugar, being polosuke, that is completely normal for this style of wine. there's a yellow fruit note to it, kind of a yellow melon, yellow pear, very lusciously fruity on the nose. But delicious acidity, really bright, kind of salivating acidity. A really great example of what the extent of what Welsh Riesling can do. Like I said, all the way from suke dry, polo suke sweet, even lending itself to dessert wines with higher residual sugar content. But these are wines that are really, for me, they just really represent what Moravia can do and the changing climate of the Moravian wine industry and the innovative techniques that they're using. For example, like botrytis with Kamil Prokeš. These are techniques that are pretty risky in the typical wine world, but when pulled off right, they make really fantastic age-worthy wines. One of the food pairings, some people ask me about food pairings for slightly sweet wines. It can be quite tricky. With this Welsh Riesling, for example, from Kamil Prokeš, the best pairing that comes to my mind is salt. And I picked up some blue cheese in Vienna yesterday, so I am totally stoked to enjoy some blue cheese and Kamil Prokeš's Polo Suke Welsh Riesling this evening. But I love this grape varietal, and I hope that it will gain more notoriety, especially in the global wine world. I think these producers, both Tanzberg Winery and Kamil Prokeš, make exceptional wines, very representative of the Mikulov and Velké Pavlovice region, and I can only imagine what's going to happen in 10 years from now. So very excited to try these wines, excited to share them with you. So cheers to Welsh Riesling, to Tanzberg Winery and Kamil Prokeš for again making beautiful wines and allowing me to have the chance to meet them and talk about it. So cheers to Welsh Riesling, cheers to you, thank you for watching, and enjoy your Sunday. Cheers.